Hi, friends. Welcome to a brief episode of Bite Size Bish. Today's episode is primarily to share with you all that there's not going to be another episode this week because sadly and beautifully, my grandfather passed away on Saturday, and I am in the grief weeds, and I don't have the emotional bandwidth to do an episode this week. But I did want to share a couple of things about grief for those of you who are interested in hearing that. However, if you're not interested in listening to that and you want to tune out, no problem. I understand these apps aren't for everybody. But the one thing I want to say before you tune out is, yeah, girl is still going to cover Summer House Reunion Part 3. So I am, I'm not covering Rhode Island this week, the Valley, anything like that. But your girl is going to cover Summer House Reunion Part 3. So you can be excited about that. I will not only post clinical interpretations to my Instagram at Your Bish Therapist, I will also be doing a podcast that will come out next week. So this week, you just got a bite-sized bish, but next week, don't you worry. I will be talking all things Summer House because, to be honest, one of the things with grief, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today, I really love sharing my experience, strength, and hope with people. And I think when we talk about our experiences and our mental health and things like that, everybody wins. And it helps everybody. So today I wanted to share a very funny story that happened while my grandfather was transitioning. And it's so funny. I can't wait for you to hear it. But first, the one thing that I wanted to say is that my grandfather, John, was the best person that I've ever known. He was the greatest man, the greatest human, and the only reason that I am relatively normal. And I say relatively because A, I don't know what normal is, and B, I know I'm not that. But let me put it this way. John is the reason that I am who I am. And so I wanted to try to get through this without tears, but he is the reason that I am me. And so I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody for the support, for the love, this YBT community. I'm just so super grateful. I don't know what I've done to be so lucky to be surrounded by a community of wonderful people. And I just thank you all for, the condolences, the thoughts, the prayers, the positive vibes, whatever people put out there. I just really appreciate it and know that it does make a difference for me very much. And so my grandfather, John, I just, wanted to say quickly, I'm writing his obituary now and I'm going to post it because I just want everyone to know how amazing he was. But John was a World War II vet. He was stationed in Germany in World War II. So John was an engineer and he just really loved what he did. And he loved being in the service, believe it or not. He loved being an engineer and he loved life and he lived a beautiful life. And towards the end, what I've realized about grief is that doesn't matter how old someone is. If someone's your person, we're never going to be prepared to lose our person. And so while I'm intensely grateful that I'm 45 years old and I still had him until Saturday, adjusting to living without him is, it's hard. So, but this is what I want to share about grief because grief is so funny. It's like right now I am crying, but I have the funniest story that I wanted to share with you all, which was that at the end of his life, I had made the decision to put him on hospice, which, by the way, I cannot say enough good things about hospice because it's just a soft landing pad for people who are transitioning so they don't have to, end up in the hospital or things like that. And that's not always possible, but it worked for both my grandparents, and I'm just really grateful for hospice. So shout out to anyone who does that work because it is hard. And I am so grateful for those folks. So hospice came in and it was me, my husband, and my sister. By the way, my husband has been an absolute rock star. I don't talk about him a lot because he is very private and he prefers that I don't, but he's a great man. Grandpa loved him so much. And that's a funny thing. My husband and I, we've been together for almost 24 years. So they were his grandparents too. I mean, my grandparents looked at him like a son and, so my husband and my sister and I were kind of huddled around my grandfather, and hospice is moving him, like they're just adjusting him and things like that. And she says, his breathing has slowed down. I think this might be it. And so we're huddled around him. We're holding him. We're holding each other. It was actually a very sweet moment. And all of a sudden, I hear this noise. Now, let me be clear. John was it was kind of like, it wasn't skilled nursing. It was assisted living, but he had all the nurses, all the care around the clock. But it's a facility. It's a very nice, the best one in the area. And so I hear a noise coming down the hall, and all of a sudden, someone opens the door, and it's a gentleman bringing a delivery of oxygen, which, let me be clear about another thing, is that I advocated for this man until his last breath, and I actually lost my shit on people a couple of times because they weren't doing what they needed to do, and I had it, and I was like, I will advocate for this man like nobody's business. So my point is that the oxygen got there too late. I remedied a bunch of stuff, but that got there too late. And by the time it got there, he didn't need it. But so anyway, the oxygen delivery man, we're huddled over my grandfather, hysterically crying, just sobbing. And he hadn't passed yet, but his breathing had slowed down. And the oxygen delivery man comes in, and he's playing a song on his phone aloud, right? So that's what the noise that I heard. He came in, he's playing the song, and we hear this beat. And then all of a sudden, I hear the words, bitch ass pussy. So this man was listening to this song. I don't even know what it was, but the lyrics were something about bitch ass pussy. And my grandfather was born in 1927. Okay, this man, like Glenn Miller and swing and big band, he has never heard music like this in his life. And there was part of me that it's like, when a song comes on with curse words and like a kid's around and you're like, you clutch your pearls, you're like, oh, I don't want them to hear that. And I just thought, I don't want him to hear this as he's going out, not the bitch ass pussy. So the oxygen delivery guy literally sets the phone on the cot where I was sleeping next to my grandfather, and we're hearing this music, and then he goes away, and I love an inappropriate giggle. So I'm just like, I'm crying, but I'm also giggling hysterically. And the worst part is that this man comes back into the room, doesn't knock, just comes in, playing the same song, but he had to get a picture of the oxygen for proof of delivery. And at this point, we are all just staring at him because we are like, what is happening? And he literally looks at us, waves, and says, you all have a wonderful day, and closes the door. I cannot. And it's like, the reason why I share this is because this is what grief is. Grief is like an actual clusterfuck of some of like the most, the moments that'll make you laugh, the moments that'll make you cry. It's just like, it literally, grief ebbs and flows like the waves of the ocean. And sometimes when it's high tide, you can feel like you're going under. And then sometimes you can laugh about bitch ass pussies. For anyone who is grieving or having a hard time, please, I hope this story brings you as much joy and laughter as it has brought me. For the rest of my life, we will be talking about this. We will be laughing about this. And at the end of the day, I hope that Grandpa got a kick out of it too. And here's the irony. I will say he was one of the strongest men that I've ever met in a million ways. As a World War II vet, he was just made of tough stuff. And to be clear, with that moment that we thought he was passing, he didn't pass then. It was he lived a couple more days after that because he just had a zest for life and such a will to live. But the beautiful thing, and this is what I'll end with, the beautiful thing is that me and my sister were able to have one last sleepover with him. And then my dad actually came in, his son, and was able to have one last sleepover with him. And then we sat around him, and on his 98th birthday, which was October of last year, he would have been 99 this October. I'm sure he's very upset that he didn't make it. But I bought him Coca-Colas in the bottle because, when he was in the service, that reminds him of that. And so I had bought him 4. And, we sat around him as he was laying in hospice and in the bed and in the room. And we just cheersed to him, to a man, a beautiful life well lived. And when I was done, I poured a little bit out on the floor for our buddy because the facility where he's at, let me just be really clear that they've heard my wrath and they haven't heard the end of it. So we did pour a little bit out for our buddy. And so again, thank you everyone for your patience and for those of you who listened and supported me. And I can't thank you enough. I will be fine. We will be fine. This week, I have a lot of arrangements to make. I have a lot of calls to make. I have a lot of things to do. And grief brain is real, by the way, because I'm going to tell you, my brain is not functioning properly. Like I'm not hearing things the way I need to hear them. I'm misunderstanding things. Chronic illness, brain fog, and grief brain. It's literally making me feel like I don't know. I'm like, oh my God, am I okay? But I am okay, and I will be okay. So my suggestions for dealing with grief, this is how I've been dealing with it, is laugh when I can, cry when I need to, regulate my nervous system by dancing or exercising, hugging my husband, just, whatever you need, just give it to yourself and just ride the wave, because I really am taking things one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. And that's the best that we can do. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that and just say again, thank you for all your love and support, the prayers, the positive energy, whatever people sent. I just really appreciate it. So we will be having a very small service for him this week. And I will be back to talk about Summer House. And I just can't wait to do that because I feel like that is my Super Bowl and it will bring me joy to do it. So stay tuned for that episode next week. And as soon as I get out of the grief weeds, I will be back to doing multiple episodes. And to be honest, again, thank you, Brady, for your service, because without Brady, I would be taking a very long hiatus right now. So thank you, Brady. Thank you, Grampy. And I'm going to thank myself too, because the way that I fiercely advocated for that man and other people in that building, that's another story for another day. But y'all, let me be clear. Your girl got spicy. She got real spicy advocating. And I don't feel bad about it. So we'll end on that note. So for today, sending love to you and yours. Ta-ta for now. Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.